Hey, I'm Caleb. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to make a dog treat bag and some other leather stuff, so stick with me and I'll show you how you can make this too.
I still need to work out all the dimensions and shapes for this, so I figured it would be best to start by making some templates. To do that, I'm using some lightweight cardboard that's about the same thickness as the leather I'm working with. The first piece to work out will be the sides, which just needs to be taller than the belt clip I want to use. I make the wraparound piece slightly wider than my hand so it'll be easy to get my fingers inside to get treats out. One of the bags I want to just have a slot in the top for the opening, so to find the right length I use the side piece to mark it out. Now my templates are done, I have a pretty good idea of what my leather needs to be, so I'm confident to start cutting out the pieces. There are fancy leather knives, but I don't want to give anyone the idea that I actually know what I'm doing with leather, so I'm going to stick to my utility knife. With a fresh razor, it cuts cow skin almost as easy as my skin, which I found out my skin isn't near as thick as I used to think it was. Add that to one of the things you learn when you post stuff on the internet. Anyway, I don't have a sewing machine, and I'm not suicidal enough to touch my wife's yet. Sharing a few more videos to Facebook or Reddit might change that though. But until then, I stitch leather by using a grooving tool to make a groove. Bet you didn't see that one coming. This gives me a line to follow and recesses the stitching just a tad, which minimizes the amount of wear and abrasion it gets. Then I follow that grooved line with my diamond chisel to punch holes to actually stitch this thing together, because despite almost 7 years of working my fingers raw for the army making PowerPoint slides and spreadsheets, my fingers just aren't tough enough to push a needle through this stuff. And for any corners, I switch to my 2-prong chisel to navigate my way around it slowly. Now seems like a good time to dye, puns intended, so I smear on some dye prep and then my brown dye. See how it's not spreading consistently and it's kind of puddling up? That should have been my clue that the dye had gone bad. Future me is going to be pissed when it turns green. After giving it a bit to rest though, I wipe off the excess and pull out my greatest tool to get through sketchy bits of any project: denial, which has always worked for me, or at least that's what I tell myself. It seemed like it'd be a good idea to rivet the belt clip on before I start sewing this together while I can still access the inside easily. So I knock that out. I mark the holes, drill them out, get the finicky tiny rapid rivets in place, and then take the leather to a place we've never gone together before, Pound Town. Then I start putting this together with a saddle stitch, which is probably one of the easiest stitches, and Google can explain a lot better than I can. And this is me stopping to tell you that sometimes I forget to hit record, and other times I do hit record but don't turn on my mic, and don't find out until weeks later in the edit. And also something about stitching it wrong and having to seam rip it and start over because I want the side piece to fold in. I didn't have the foresight to realize that my sewing approach is going to make closing the top almost impossible. I'll show that in a second, but I did realize that it would be wise to do both sides at the same time while it's still easy to access the inside.
This is what I meant by just a slot to reach inside, and I reinforce the edges to help keep things from tearing apart. And here you can only see one edge because I stitched the inside of this to the outside part of this, which when I got here meant I had to be able to pass the needles through the inside, which was really difficult. The next one I'm going to make, I did an inside to inside, so my needles alternated, outside the pouch. So if I'd done this kind of seam on this bag, it would have been a lot easier. This seam would have been easier to pull off on this bag because it was always easy to get inside of it.
I decided to do another bag that had snaps because that's the style most folks would probably want to go with, and shows how to make a more versatile pouch that you could put anything in. Just size it for whatever you want to put in it. I used my templates from before, I just made the wraparound piece, the body, a little bit longer. It wasn't till I was ready to assemble though that I realized I didn't round off the corners on the flappy flat part where the snappy snaps will go, so I do that real quick. And once again, I install the belt clip before sewing. This one was a little trickier on locating, so I actually counted the punch holes to make sure I had it in the right place. Then I start saddle stitching. This one I stitch how I should have done the other one, with the inside to the inside. Jumping ahead, I started and went around the first side piece, then around the flap, and now I'm stitching on the other side. The stitch around the flap is purely decorative. I might not have a great sense of design or style, but I'm really awesome at making extra work for myself. Now that I've finished, I'll show you again my stitching path. What's left is this inside seam that'll stitch off camera. Now for the snappy snaps. I used my micrometer to precisely locate and drill the holes, and then transfer those holes through the body. Now the snaps go in. Just gotta get the stud piece in the hole. It's a tight fit, not because the stud is big, the hole is just tight. Seems to be a recurring thing for me. Anyway, the round piece lays back on the round hammer and then pound tip to tip until the female part of the snap is trapped, and repeat for the other side. And then it's a similar process on the male part of the snaps. I use some blocking inside the bag to support it while it gets pinned together. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I hope you learned something, were inspired, or at least entertained. Until next time, make time to make something.
Carmen, come! Good girl. Sits. Plots. That's good. Blibe. Come. Sits. Plots. Good girl.